And the Independent National Electoral Commission, Nigeria's electoral body, is warning all registered political parties to submit copies of their membership register as required by the new Electoral Act before holding their primary elections or face disqualification from elections. Inec Chairman Mahmood Yakubu gave the warning at the second quarterly meeting with resident electoral commissioners at the Commission's headquarters here in Abuja. He also warns the resident electoral commissioners to remain unbiased and apolitical in monitoring of the primaries or risk being punished.
The Commission is confident that our security agencies have the capacity to deal with the security challenges ahead of the 2023 general election. Let me also seize this opportunity to remind political parties that by the provision of Section 77 of the Electoral Act 2022, each party is required to maintain a membership register in hard and soft copy and to make such register available to the Commission not later than 30 days before the date fixed for primaries, congresses, and conventions. So far, only one political party has complied. It is a mandatory requirement of the law, and all parties are required to comply. Doing otherwise is like going into an election without the register of voters. There can be no credible primary or general election without credible register of voters.
All right, we're now joined by the National Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Festus Okoye. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to have you here. Well, very disturbing that only one party has actually complied with the directive to, present their party register. Now that they have not done so, does INEC have systems in place to independently verify the number that these parties are banding? I mean, APC, for example, is saying they have 41 million members and, of course, counting. And what would it take really to verify those numbers?
No, if you listen to the national chairman of INEC, what he said was that the commission was reminding political parties to comply with the provisions of the law. Now, if you look at Section 77, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act 2022, it makes it mandatory for political parties to maintain a membership register in both soft and hard copy. And Section 77, subsection 3, makes it mandatory for every registered political party in Nigeria that wants to sponsor candidates for election to make such their membership register available to the commission 30 days before their primaries or before any other before any convention or congress convened for the purposes of nominating candidates. Now, if a political party is not interested in sponsoring candidates for any of the elections, it can simply stay away and not submit that membership register to the commission.
Okay.
Now, but if a political party is sponsoring candidates, you now read Section 77 of the Electoral Act together with Section 84, subsection 13 of the same Act,
yes,
which makes it mandatory for every political party to comply with the provisions of the Electoral Act in the nomination of his candidates and in the conduct of his party primaries. And that any political party that refuses or fails or neglects to comply with such a provision will not have his candidate in the election. So it is for the political parties to comply. The commission will not go to any political party begging or urging it to comply. Okay. Because if any political party does not comply, the implication is that that particular political party does not have candidate in the election.
Okay, so should this parties submit this register, how does INEC verify the numbers? Or is this just for doing sake because Section 77 of the Electoral Act says we should do so? And when the chairman says failure to do that will be flying or going blind, going into this election blind or flying blind, basically, what does that mean? What do you use this data for?
Well, the Act compels political parties to keep this register. Now, if a political party is going to conduct direct primaries, the direct primaries will be conducted in the 8,809 electoral wards of the commission. And the implication is that only members of the party in those locations are supposed to participate in that particular party primaries. So if a political party, for instance, submits a membership register of 10,000, and then at the end of the day, 50,000 persons vote in their party primaries, the implication is that there's a problem. And then any of the aspirants that participated in such a party primary is entitled by law to go to court to get the primaries declared as null and void because the number of persons that voted in the party primaries cannot be said to equate to the number of persons that make up the political party itself. It's like overvoting in an electoral process. Okay. If the number of registered voters prior to the amendment to the prior to the Electoral Act 2022, in the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, if the number of persons in the voters register does not equate to the number of those who voted, or if the number of those who voted are more than the number that we have in the voters register, the implication is that there has been overvoting. So if the number of persons that vote in the primaries of a political party does not conform to the number submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission, the implication is that there's a problem and there has been an overvoting. What
could be responsible for that? I mean, is it for lack of adequate voter education? And how worrisome is it for Inec that 45% of new voter registrations done in 2021 are actually invalid? And you did point out, when I say you, yes, Inec pointed out that it's discovered that some staff within the commission are actually complicit in this re-registration or over-registration of voters.
Now, there are two issues involved here. The first issue is that our register has 84 million registered voters as of today. The second issue involved is that we are engaged in the continuous voters registration exercise. At the end of this continuous voters registration exercise, the supplementary voters register that is ongoing now will be integrated into the main voters register for us to have a comprehensive voters register that will be used for the 2023 general election. Now, in this particular voters registration exercise, what has happened is that, one, there are some people that registered before and they have moved from one location to the other. Rather than going to a portal or going to go and report that they have moved and then changing their voting location, they simply went and registered afresh. There are also some people who have lost their permanent voters card. Rather than going to go and swear an affidavit that they have lost their permanent voters card, they simply hid the information and went and registered afresh, thinking that the commission was not going to discover. It is these people that we discovered and we invalidated their second registration, but their previous registration is still valid. We didn't do anything about their previous registration. What they can do is that, despite the fact that they have violated the law, the commission says the moment we finish this registration, we will now take a decision on what to do with the violation of the law. But those same people can go back and do the right thing. If you move from Lagos to Abuja, you can simply go and transfer your voting location to Abuja. If you registered previously and you have lost your voter's card, you can simply go and report and do the right thing, and we'll print a new one for you. But you know, some people thought that they could beat the law. They did not know that we have a more robust system of cleaning up the voters register that can detect multiple registrants, whether through their fingerprints and through their facials.
But what are you doing with the INEC staff that are complicit?
The disciplinary process is ongoing at the moment, and if the disciplinary process finds them culpable in what has happened, the commission will take decisive action against them.
Well, there seems to be a confusion ongoing. I would like to get INEC's perspective since we have you here. The political season is here, and we have political appointees who have declared their intentions for positions come 2023, but they haven't resigned from their current positions. Right. What does INEC think about it, especially because the controversial section 84 subsection 12 remains a legal issue? It's in court. What does INEC think about those political appointees?
Well, we are not going to offer free legal advice to any of the political parties because they have legal advisors within their midst, and they also have a galaxy of external solicitors advising them. It really is within the political parties to make a determination of what they intend to do. But as far as the commission is concerned, there are 3 cases that were in court in relation to this matter, and some of those matters are still pending. So it's sub judice, and we won't express an opinion relating to that particular section.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Okoye, stay with us. We want to get your thought on this next story. So stay with us.
Yes,
Inec has given a breakdown of the budget for the 2023 general elections, and Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu gave the breakdown at the public presentation of the 2023 election projects plan here in Abuja.
In the 2022 Appropriation Act, the National Assembly approved a budget of 305 billion naira for Inec. Out of that figure, the electoral body says not less than 239 billion, which constitutes over 78% of the budget, will be spent on 10 critical items alone. 105 billion naira will be spent by Inec on procuring accreditation devices, 27 billion naira for possible runoff elections, while about 24 billion naira will be spent for ad hoc staff. 23 billion naira has been earmarked for election logistics expenses, which incorporates the movement, deployment, and retrieval of men and materials. Inec will spend about 21 billion on the printing of ballot papers and almost 13 billion on the procurement of non-sensitive materials. Printing of result sheets will cost the electoral body 9.5 billion naira, while procurement of ballot boxes will gulp nearly 13 billion naira. The procurement of operational vehicles is expected to cost about 4 billion naira. The budget for the 2023 general elections is a sharp increase of about 60% over the 189 billion naira spent in 2019.
Right, we still have Festus Okoye still with us here. So I wonder what your thoughts are about this budget. And before you even talk about your thoughts, I mean, I know that the INEC chairman did ask for 305 billion in December 2021. Have those funds been released? I mean, the general election is in February 2023 or so of next year, of course.
Well,
do you have those funds now?
We have the requisite funds we need for some of the pre-election activities we are engaged in now. We had asked that the money should be released to the Commission in tranches, in 3 tranches. So we have the first tranche, which will enable us to complete and conclude the continuous voters registration exercise. And also we have the funds that will enable us to procure the 3-in-1 equipment that we are going to use for, that we are currently using for voter enrollment, and then the one that we are going to use for voter accreditation and upload of election results. So we have sufficient funds to carry out the activities for this particular period.
What is left to be funded? Which, I mean, do you have funding for the largest chunk of what you need for the election to execute the presidential election come 2023? Do you have that already in the purse?
Well, some of the funds, we don't need them now, especially funds for the payment of ad hoc staff. We don't need them now. And then payment for a deployment of election materials on election day. Those ones will come later. But funds for the CVR that is ongoing now, we have the funds. And also the funds to procure some of the non-sensitive, some of the electoral technological equipments that the Commission needs. We have those funds.
Some people have described this budget as humongous, considering where we're coming from.
60% increase.
Yeah, from the previous elections. Don't you think it's yes, elections are crucial, but this is very expensive. What are your thoughts? Can we sustain this with the dwindling revenue to the Nigerian government? Are these elections too expensive?
Well, the Commission took into consideration the fact that government needs funds for other services in the area of health, in the area of education, and the area of provision of other social amenities to the Nigerian people. But election is a very expensive undertaking, and there is an indispensable public investment. Now, but if you look at what we have done, you can see that in the long run, you can see that this is the election that will be least expensive for the commission. Now, in terms of technology, what we have done is to procure a 3-in-1 technology.
Okay.
The technology we are using for voter enrollment is the same technology we are going to use for voter accreditation, and is the same technology we are going to use for the upload of election results. So the moment you procure it, you have covered a trajectory of 3. That is one. Secondly, you will also see that if you look at the funding for this particular election, in 2019, we had a total of 119,973 polling units. Now, the commission created an additional 56,873 polling units. These polling units have to be populated in terms of the ad hoc staff that are going to be in them, and also in terms of the equipment that will be deployed to some of these polling units. But if you also look at the cost of the elections in terms of the dollar equivalent, you will see that in terms of the dollar equivalent, in 2015, the naira was around 165 to the dollar. In 2019, it was around 305 to the dollar. Now, in 2022, it's around 565. So you have to look at these variables. And some of this equipment will have to be procured offshore, like the beavers that was designed in our commission, but it's being fabricated outside the country. So we have taken all these things into consideration in coming up with this particular budget. So I believe that our budget takes into consideration the changing dynamics of the Nigerian economy, and also the need for us to conduct a very efficient election.
Including security?
Election security is not within the purview of the Independent National Electoral Commission.
Okay, great.
We
Great,
must say a very big thank you to you, National Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Festus Okoye. Thank you for being here with us.